Hey, y'all, welcome back to Beneath the Surface podcast by Jamie Marie. It's already episode 6, you guys. I really just can't believe it. And I'm pretty excited to present this information this week. Actually, each week just gets better and better because I am on this little journey to learn more about everything spiritual things, health things, anything that is going to help me get closer to God, raise my vibration, and just get healthier. That's what it's all about, middle age. And so, as I learn things, I just like to bring them to you guys so that you can learn them as well. And if you already know all this and you actually know even more, let me know. Tell me if I'm getting something wrong. Please, I am here to learn, learn, learn. But I have done pretty thorough research on what I do present. And I think that, well, I know I can feel it that God just has this tug on me to bring this information to everyone. And this week, well, this week's topic is quite powerful. Yeah, it is called Why Your Relationship Isn't Broken. Your body is protecting you. So, how trapped emotions don't just shape our feelings, they shape our posture, our choices, our relationships, and even how we live inside the unspoken rules of society. Because we don't just absorb emotions, we absorb expectations. And the body never forgets the difference between what we felt and what we were allowed to feel. So, most relationship issues don't start with a fight. They start with a body that learned a long time ago how to stay safe. On previous episodes, we talked about emotions, where they get stored in the fascia, the organs, how social and cultural conditioning quietly shapes the version of ourselves we present to the world. And I kind of just want to open everybody's eyes. You may be fine with what you were taught in your culture and society, and you want to continue with that. And that is 100% fine. But I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that you don't have to continue with the things you were taught when you were being raised. You can actually flip the script and decide to go down a whole different path. It may change your whole world. So today we are going deeper because when two people come together, it's not just two personalities in a room, it's two nervous systems, two emotional histories, two bodies holding memories they never got to be released, that never got to be released. And that's where things get messy. If you ever thought, why do we keep having the same argument? Why do I shut down even when I want to speak? Why does love feel hard even when it's real? Then this episode is for you. I know it was for me. So, we will explore how trapped emotions stored in the fascia show up in relationships as defensiveness, people pleasing, emotional shutdown, overreaction to small moments. Well, not because you're broken and not because your partner is wrong, but because your body is protecting an older version of you. I also share how emotion code can be used inside relationships, not to fix your partner, but to remove the emotional interference that keeps love stuck in, you guessed it, survival mode. Here's the truth most people never hear: healing doesn't force relationships to stay, It creates enough safety for truth to finally lead. Sometimes that means reconnection. Sometimes it means peaceful completion. Always, it means clarity. Okay, here we go. Part one. Are you guys ready? Social norms and emotional suppression. From a young age, we're trained don't cry, be polite, don't rock the boat, smile more, be strong, be grateful. And these are not bad intentions, but they often come with a hidden cost. When emotions don't have permission to move, they don't disappear, they relocate because emotions, they're energy. Grief gets swallowed, anger tightens the jaw, fear settles into the gut, shame curls the shoulders forward like a quiet apology to the world. Over time, these trapped emotions become part of our baseline. We stop noticing them the way you stop noticing background noise until it starts affecting everything. As I think back, you know, on my life and wonder about the different cultural and social norms that I am still presenting today, or maybe just remember that I used to present. One thing that does stick out to me is that I am always in a rush. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Don't have people wait on you. Come on. And literally, I don't remember my mom or dad like telling me anything. Like they weren't mean at all. They were really good parents. Wonderful parents. But somewhere down the road, I felt that I should not have people wait on me, as in, you hurry and get your stuff done so the next person can go. You're at the checkout line. You're going to hurry and check that out so that the next person can go. Instead of taking your time, doing it right, I just want to make sure the next person is okay. It's just the way I am. And I have no idea where it came from. Don't. But I do know that I'm done. I'm done doing that because I know that I am worth the time. And no, it's still not okay to cross the sidewalk, to cross the street and slowly cross the street when a whole pile of cars are waiting. No, that is not okay. And if you do that, that is not okay. Stop. But if you have something wrong with you and you literally cannot walk quickly across the street, then by all means take your time. But I am just saying that cross the street quickly if you can, if there's people waiting on you. There's no need for that. So yeah, just kind of use your judgment of what you feel is right. But I can tell you, making people wait on you when you're crossing the street is not right if you're doing it on purpose. So I would love to know what are some of the things that you guys do that now thinking about it, you're thinking, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm done doing that. So I know that I can take up space. I'm worth the space. And I can stick up for myself. I don't have to put up with being talked to bad and degrading because I put up with a lot. I've put up with so much that I truly am over it. Now, I'm not going to be rude to anyone, but I am going to stick up for myself, and so should you. Okay, on to part two, fascia and the body's emotional web. So let's talk about fascia for a moment. Yes, we have covered this, but let's just do a quick review. Fascia is the connective tissue that wraps around muscles, organs, nerves, and bones. It's not rigid, it's responsive. It listens. Fascia responds to stress, trauma, emotional suppression, and prolonged patterns of tension. When patterns are trapped, fascia can stiffen, shorten, or lose its natural glide. That's why emotional experiences can show up as physical pain, limited mobility, chronic tension, or a sense of feeling stuck in life. It could also show up as diseases and, well, you name it. So the body doesn't separate emotional stress from physical stress, it just records the data. So, to wrap up this little section, I would like to read a little bit of what Bradley Nelson in the Emotion Code, what he says. He says, life is about having joy. It's about increasing our ability to give and receive love, and it's about gaining all the knowledge we can. It's also about serving others, feeling grateful for all that we have, and learning to create the life we want. Trapped emotions make it more difficult for us to experience these joys and tend to short circuit us both physically and emotionally. So he goes on after that section to a testimonial, and I would like to share that with you guys. It's called An Incredible Transformation. I have been blessed with the opportunity to witness a remarkable difference in my grandmother, who is currently housed in an Alzheimer's facility. Before I began working on her with the emotion code, she was a crumbled pile of human flesh who muttered incomprehensible jumbles of unrelated words. Over the course of the past 6 weeks, I have literally observed an unbelievable transformation. She is now sitting upright in her wheelchair and managing to assemble full, occasionally eloquent sentences. He was even able to convey to my grandfather, her husband of 60 years, how much he truly loved him and apologized for her inability to successfully deliver that message to him over the past few years. So that's in the emotion code. And that is all. This book is on YouTube. Like, you can listen to this book for free. Do it. You need to get this book in your life. So, and if you don't, then just listen to my podcast. So, in this book, Bradley Nelson does talk about the human energy field and the devices, the newer devices that are being used to measure the human energy field. One of them is called the Squid Magnet Magnetometer. Magnetometer, something like that, can detect the tiny magnetic fields. So, although not all medical doctors are aware of this yet, the biomagnetic fields in the space around the body can be measured to obtain readings of patients' heart and brain activity that are equal to more traditional electrical measurements such as EEGs and EKGs. So, the heart's electromagnetic field is so powerful that you can take an accurate reading 3 feet away from the body. In addition, the field that emanates from the heart has been shown to contain information about a person's emotional state. I don't know if it's just me, but I find that absolutely fascinating. Section 3, Trapped Emotions and Relationships. Okay, now let's bring relationships into the room. Unreleased emotions don't just live inside of us, they quietly steer how we connect. A trapped abandonment emotion might look like people pleasing. A trapped rejection emotion might show up as emotional walls. Betrayal might create hyper independence. Resentment might leak out as sarcasm or withdrawal. And often we don't know why we're reacting the way we are or the way we do. We just feel triggered, exhausted, or disconnected. This is where relationships start to feel heavy instead of nourishing. Not because love isn't there, but because old emotional weight is sitting in the driver's seat, which leads to the next section 4, life patterns and emotional autopilot. Here's something important: trapped emotions don't just affect how you feel, they don't. They affect what feels normal to you. You might repeatedly choose familiar dynamics, even painful ones. You might shrink when it's time to speak. You might overfunction, overgive, or overcontrol. Not because you're broken, but because your nervous system is trying to keep you safe using outdated information. When emotions are released, people often report something subtle but profound. Life feels lighter, choices feel clearer, reactions soften, boundaries feel less threatening. That's not a coincidence. That's recalibration. Okay, like I said, this episode 6 is about protecting yourself. And that kind of brings us to the heart wall, which is exactly what that is. It is a wall of energy that is there trying to protect our heart from being annihilated, basically. So let's go back to the emotion code and what Bradley Nelson says about this. And I would like to bring to you the little poem that he has in chapter 8, The Walls Around Our Hearts. I don't want to look like some kind of fool. I don't want to break my heart over you. I'm building a wall. Every day it's getting higher. This time I won't end up another victim of love. I'm going to lock up what I'm feeling inside. Ain't no way you can break down the door. By Victim of Love, lyrics by the group Erasure. Erasure. So trapped emotions can create a wall around your heart that can block you from living life to the fullest. The following story is from a former patient of Bradley Nelson who had a heart wall once upon a time. Living the fairy tale. At the time Dr. Nelson cleared my heart wall, I was approximately 51 years old, and I had worked at the Walt Disney Company for 22 years. It was a busy, exciting career filled with travel all over the world and bright, creative people. I had a wonderful family and many close friendships. I had never been married. I wasn't against marriage, nor was I dying to get married. It wasn't an issue. My life was full. Later that year, two of my friends were planning a trip to China. They asked me to join them, but I said I was very busy at work. They kept up their encouragements. It was as if an invisible hand was at my back, pushing me in the direction of China, thinking that if I ever did want to go to China, I may as well go now. So I went. Travel in China was somewhat restricted at the time, so we went with the group. There was a wonderful gentleman on the trip, an attorney who had been divorced for 7 years. He lived in Newport Beach, about 40 miles from my home up the California coast. We got to know each other in a very unassuming way during our tour of China. On the airplane trip home, we sat together, and he asked me out for the following weekend. We dated for a year, and he popped the question on Thanksgiving Day, and we were married 6 months later. I was 53. As I reflect back on the time after my heart wall cleared, I realized things weren't the same. I began to open myself to the idea of having someone in my life to have and to hold and to care for as he would care for me. It happened on the feeling level. Finding someone to share my life with just felt like the next step. There was a new readiness that I hadn't felt before. It must have been the removal of that invisible wall that I had not even known was there that allowed me to let this wonderful man in. So, for all of you who think women cannot marry after a certain age, get your heart wall cleared. Stay open to the possibilities life has to offer. And remember my story. We are now approaching our fifth anniversary, have just moved into our new home on the California coast, overlooking the ocean and Catalina Island, and are living the fairy tale. Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Lynn R. Again, that was a testimonial from Bradley Nelson's book, The Emotion Code, and you can find that on YouTube for free. I highly recommend it. But once you do listen to it, I bet you are going to want to go buy it so that you can mark it all up like I did. I have so many tabs and highlights and oh, you name it in this book that you're just going to want a physical copy. And if you do, then it's on Amazon or in my TikTok shop. Either way. Okay, now I guess we're going to be on to part five. I could go on and on about testimonials, but let's move on. Releasing what was never yours to carry forever. The beautiful thing about trapped emotions is this: they don't require reliving trauma, they don't need endless analysis. They simply need acknowledgement and release. When the body is no longer when the body no longer has to guard old emotional energy, it frees up space for connection and creativity, intimacy, and ease. Relationships soften, the body breathes. Life feels less like survival and more like participation. Wouldn't that be nice? Out of survival mode, you say? Is that such a thing? Okay, now back to Bradley Nelson's emotion code. I'm going to talk about hopelessness from 22 generations ago. Because, yes, emotions can be passed down. It can be inherited. And whenever you do release a trapped emotion, you're releasing it. I mean, a generational emotion, you're releasing it from yourself and everyone else. That either the person that gave it to you or the person that you gave it to. All three, or however many, are getting relief from that release. So, Bradley Nelson says, a number of years ago, I called and asked my daughter, Natalie, to do a remote session on me and clear anything that she could find. We were separated by hundreds of miles, she in her home and I in mine. After she hung up the phone, she made a proxy connection with me and promptly found I had an inherited trapped emotion of hopelessness. When she discovered this, she suddenly felt like crying. As she continued to test me remotely, she found that I had received this trapped emotion from my father and that he had received it from his mother, who had received it from her mother, who had received it from her mother, and so on. Natalie continued the testing and found that this particular emotion had originated with a grandmother 22 generations back from me. Suddenly, Natalie felt that the presence of this particular grandmother. She could feel her standing right next to her, and she could feel her emotions. She could feel how desperate this grandmother was to have this emotional energy released from her posterity. And the same time, Natalie could feel how overwhelmed with gratitude this grandmother was that this was actually being done after all this time. Natalie released this inherited emotion of hopelessness from me, and she could feel it ripple through all the intervening generations. This ended up being one of the most profound healing experiences of Bradley Nelson's life. Imagine living all your life next door to a factory Imagine that there is a continual hum coming out of this factory, and this particular factory never closes, never takes a day off. The hum coming from this factory never stops. It's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's been there your entire life. It's very likely you would not even notice the hum coming from this factory. It would simply be background noise that you would tune out. However, if this factory were to suddenly go out of business or shut down for some reason or another, and if this hum was suddenly stopped, the silence would be deafening. So, all of his life, he had this background feeling of hopelessness. Oh, wow. He says, I knew that this was an emotion I struggled with. In fact, during the time that I was writing the first edition of the emotion code, he said that he would have to spend half an hour to an hour each day listening to very positive, hopeful, and inspiring recordings to overcome this background feeling of hopelessness. Before he says, before I would be able to write, that he says, I remember distinctively how hopeless it felt to write this book. In fact, if anyone would have asked him during those days to describe in one word how the book project felt, it would without a doubt be hopeless. What? So suddenly the background feelings of hopelessness, well, they were gone. And it was only then, when it was gone, that he could comprehend it. When it disappeared, the silence was, in a way, deafening. Only when it disappeared was I able to, or he says, was he able to understand that the background feeling had been with him every waking hour of his whole life. So having this inherited trapped emotion release, it changed his life. Oh my gosh. If you guys only knew the past couple of sessions that I have done on myself have hopelessness stacked on top of each other. Hopelessness, hopelessness, hopelessness. And I just keep releasing them because you can't do all of them at once. You got to do them one at a time. I forgot about this page. So I'm really glad that we went back over it, everybody. It just brings so much light to things. So think about your own life. Do you ever feel blocked in some way? Is it possible that some of your emotional baggage may go back to some of your ancestors who lived through difficult times? Because when an inherited trapped emotion is released from a family tree, it breaks a dark chain that has been hampering the progress of those family members. What a beautiful thing to be able to free not only yourself, but your ancestors and your children as well. Well, and your grandchildren, even if you don't have them yet. If you pass down hopelessness or any emotion to your children, then they're going to pass it to their children, probably, and to their children. And it goes on and on. There's got to be a stop. Who's going to be the change? You? Okay, and to wrap things up, I would like to share with you one more testimonial, just one more. And this is called The Emotion Code Saved Our Marriage. And Bradley Nelson shares this in his book, The Emotion Code, that is on the YouTube. So I must start by saying my husband and I have been married for just over 20 years. And while we have always had a very good relationship, the last few years have been very challenging in every aspect of life. We had become so stressed in life that we didn't even like each other anymore. We were on the verge of needlessly ending our marriage. And while buying the emotion code was not with the intention to save our marriage, as I had no idea it could, we both learned how to use the method. My husband had been working out of town, and suddenly we were missing each other and communicating more and with much more affection and consideration toward each other. Obviously, the feelings were there all along, but were so buried. The emotion code was so freeing. I didn't realize how much I had turned myself off and had become a non feeling person. I am a new, better me. My marriage is better than ever, and emotionally, I feel liberated. I can't really express to you the dramatic positive turnaround this program has given us both. And thank you for all that you do to bring this information into the lives of others. Sarita C. So, if any of this resonated with you, you can find me at www.helperbydesign.com. I do offer subscriptions and other digital things, but I also offer a lending ear. If you just want to vent and just let things out, then that's fine. Get a hold of me. I will listen. And if you just want to see if the emotion code is right for you, I do offer a free beginning session just to see, so you can get an idea if it's even worth it for you. Who knows? Who knows what it might do? If you've tried everything else, if you're feeling down, if you have acne, if you have joints that hurt, if you've been diagnosed with something that nothing else has been able to fix, why not give Emotion Code a try? Why not? It's not terribly expensive, so it's not the price. You don't have to go through the trauma again, so it's not that you don't want to relive it. What is it? Think about it. Well, in closing, let's just say think about something socially or culturally, some type of belief or behavior that you may do that you either do want to get rid of or don't want to get rid of. I would love to hear about that. If nothing else, just join my email list. You can get this information all the time. Every week, I send out the newsletter that goes with this, usually on Tuesday. And then I usually put the podcast out Thursday or Friday. You can get on my list by going to TikTok, Jamie Thrash, Helper by Design. Just search that. Fill out the form. Also, you could just go to helperbydesign.com, fill out the form there, and you'll be getting my information sent straight to your email. Thank you so much for joining me. I sure love just sharing all this information with you guys. Until next time, I'm sending love. I'm sending love in abundance. What the heck? You guys have a good evening. If nothing else, just join my email list. You can get this information all the time. Every week, I send out the newsletter that goes with this, usually on Tuesday. And then I usually put the podcast out Thursday or Friday. You can get on my list by going to TikTok, Jamie Thrash, Helper by Design. Just search that. Fill out the form. Also, you could just go to helperbydesign.com, fill out the form there, and you'll be getting my information sent straight to your email. Thank you so much for joining me. I sure love just sharing all this information with you guys. Until next time, I'm sending love. I'm sending love in abundance. What the heck? You guys have a good evening.